Frostbite Chapter 23. The weather warmed up on the day of my Monjana ceremony. In fact, it was so warm that a lot of the snow on campus began melting, running down the sides of the academic stone building in slim, slivery streams. Winter was far from being over, so I knew everything could just freeze up again in few days. For now, though, it felt as though the entire world was weeping. I had walked away from the Spokane incident with minor burns and cuts. The burns from the melting flex cuffs were the worst of my injuries, but I was still having a hard time dealing with the death I could cause and the death I could see. I wanted little more than to go curl up in the ball somewhere and not talk to anyone except maybe Lisa. But on my fourth day back at the academic, my mother had found me and told me it was time to receive my marks. It had taken me several moments to grasp what she was talking about. Then it occurred to me that it depicting two strigoi, I could earn two Manjana tattoos, my first ones. The realization had stunned me. All my life, I considered my future career as a guardian. I could look forward to the marks. I could beam, seen them as bandages of honor, but now, mainly, they were going to remind us of something I wanted to forget. The ceremony took place in the Guardians building in the large room they used for the meetings and banquets. It was nothing at all like the great dining room at the resort. It was efficient and practical, like the Guardians were. The carpet was a bushy gray shade, low and tight woven. The bare white walls had framed black and white photos of Stein Waldemix through the years. There were no other decorations or fanfare, yet the solemnity and power of the moments were palpable. All the guardians on campus, but no known voices attended. They milled around in the building's main meeting room, hanging out in the cluster but not talking. When the ceremony started, they fell into ord- orderly ranks without being told and watched me. I sat on a stool in the corner of the room, leaning forward with my hair hanging over the front of my face. Behind me, a guardian named Leonie had a tattooed needle to the back of my neck. I could know him the whole time I had been at the academics, but I could never realized he was trying to draw Bongina marks. Before he started, he had a murmured conversation with my mother and Alberta. She won't have a promise mark, he said. She has not graduated. It happens, said Alberta. She had the kills. Do the Manjuna and she will get the promise mark later. Considering the pain I regularly put myself through, I don't expect the tattoos to hurt as much as they did. But I bit my lip and stayed silent as Leonie made the marks. The process seems to go on forever. When he finished, he produced a couple of mirrors with some mavering. I was able to see the back of my neck. Two tiny black marks sat there, side by side against my red and unsensitive skin. Manjuna meant lightning in Russian, and that is what jagged shape was meant to symbolize two marks, one for Isha, one for Alina. Once I could see them, he bandaged them up and gave me some instructions about caring for them while they healed. Most of it I missed, but I figured I could ask again later. I was still kind of shocked by it all. After that, all that gathered guardians came up to me one by one. They each gave me some sort of sign of affection, a hug, a kiss on the cheek, or kind words. Welcome to the ranks, said Alberta, her weathered face gentle as she pulled me into a tight embarrassment. Dream don't say anything when his turn came, but as always, his eyes spoke legions. Pride and tenderness filled his expression, and I swallowed back tears. He rested one hand gently on my cheek, nodded, and walked away. When Stan, the instructor I thought I could fought with the most since my first day, hugged me and said, now you're one of us. I always knew you could be one of the best. I thought I could pass out. And then when my mother came up to me, I could not help the tear that ran down my cheek. She wiped it away and then brushed her fingers against the back of my neck. Don't ever forget. She told me. Nobody said congratulations, and I was glad. Death was not anything to get excited about. When that was done, drinks and food were served. I walked to the buffet table and made a plate for myself of miniature feet, quiche, and a slice of mango cheesecake. I ate without really tasting the food and answered questions from the others without even knowing what I said half the time. It was like I was Rose Robert, going through the motion of what expected. When the back of my neck, my skin stung from the tattoos. And in my mind, I kept saying Manson blue eyes and Isha's red ones. I felt guilty for not enjoying my big day, more. But I was relieved when the group finally started disappearing. My mother walked up to me as the others murmured their goodbyes. Aside from her words there at the ceremony, we had not talked much since my breakdown on the plane. I still felt a little funny about that and a little embarrassed as well. She had never mentioned it, but smoothing very small had shifted in the nature of our relationship. We were not anywhere near being friends, but we were not exactly enemies anymore either. Lord, Squeeze is leaving soon. She told me as we stood near the building's doorway, not far from where I could yield for her. On the first day we talked, I will be going with them. I know. I said, there are no questions she could leave. That was how it was Guardians followed Morai. They came first. She regarded me for a few moments, her brown eyes thoughtful. For the first time in a long time, I felt like we were actually looking eye to eye, as opposite to her looking down on me. It was about time too, seeing as I had half a foot of her height on her. You did well, she said at last, considering the circumstance. It was only half a compliment, but I deserved no more. I understand how the mistake and the lapse of judgment that had led to the events at Ashok House. Some had been my fault, some had not. I wished I could have changed some of my actions, but I know she was right. I have done the best I could in the end with them as before. Killing Strigoi was not as glamorous as I thought it could be. I told her. She gave me a sad smile. No, it never is. I thought then about all the marks on our necks, all the kills. I sure. Oh, hey. Eager to change the subject, I reached into my pocket and pulled out the little blue eye pendant she had given me. This thing you gave me. It is Nazari? I stumbled over the word. She looked surprised. Yes, how do you know? I don't want to explain my dreams with Adrian. Someone told me it is a protection thing, right? A pensive look crossed her face and then she exhaled and nodded. Yes, it comes from an old superstition in the Middle East. Some people believe that those who want to hurt you can curse you or give you the evil eye. The Nazari is meant to contract the evil eye and just bring protection in general to those who wear it. I ran my fingers over the pieces of glass. Middle East. So, place sort of like Turkey? My mother's lips squared. Place exactly like Turkey. She hesitated. It was gift, a gift I received a long time ago. Her gaze turned inward, lost in memory. I got a lot of attention from men when I was your age. Attention that seems flattering at first, but it was not in the end. It is hard to tell the difference sometimes between what is real affection and what is someone's wanting to take advantage of you. But when you feel the real thing, well, you will know. I understand then why she was so overprotective about my reputation. She endangered her own when she was younger. Maybe more than that had been damaged. I also know why she could given the Nazar to me. My father had given it to her. I don't think she wanted to talk anymore about it, so I don't ask. It was enough to know that maybe, just maybe, their relationship had not been all about the business and genes after all. We said goodbye, and I returned to my classes. Everyone knew where I could be at that morning, and my fellow non-boys wanted to see my Munchna marks. I don't blame them. If our roles had been reversed, I could have been harassing me too. Come on, Rose, begged Chandrius. We were walking out of our morning practices, and he kept sweeping my ponytail. I made a mental note to wear my hat down tomorrow. Several others followed us and echoed his request. Yeah, come on. Let's see what you got for your swordmanship. Their eyes shone with eagerness and excitement. I was a hero, their classmate, who could dispatch the leader of the roving band of the Strigoi that had no terror so terrorized us over the holidays, but I met the eyes of someone standing at the back of the group, someone who looked neither eager nor excited. Eat. Meeting my gaze, he gave a very small, sad smile. He understood. Sorry, guys, I said, turning back to others. They have to stay bandaged. Doctor's order. This was met with the grumbles that soon turned into questions about how I could actually kill the Strigoi. The caption was one of the hardest and the rarest ways to kill a vampire. It was not like carrying a sword was convenient, so I did my best to tell my friends what had happened, making sure to stick the facts and not glory the killings. The school had could not end a moment too soon, and Lisa walked with me back to my dorm. She and I had not the chance to talk much since everything had gone down in Spokane. I could undergone a lot of questioning, and then there were been Manson Funnel. Lisa had also been caught up in her own distraction with the Royals leaving campus, so she had not no more free time than me. Being near her made me feel better, even though I could be in her head at any time. It just was not the same as actually being physically around another living person who cared about you. When we got to the door of my room, I saw a bucket of fizzies sitting on the floor near it. Signing, I picked up the fragments plus without even looking at the attached card. What are those? Asked Lisa while I unlocked the door. They are from Adrian. I told her. We walked inside and I pointed at my desk where a few other buckets sat. I put the phrases down beside them. I will be glad when he leaves campus. I don't think I can take much more of this. She turned to me in surprise. Oh, you don't know? I got that warning twang through the bond that told me I could not like what was about to come. No, what? He is not leaving. He is going to stay here for a while. He has to leave, I argued. To my knowledge, the only person who could come back at all was because of Manson Funnel, and I still was not sure why he had done that. Since he barely knew Manson, maybe Adrian had just done it for show, or maybe to keep stalking Lisa and me. He is in college, or maybe reform school. I don't know, but he does something. He is taking the semester off. I started, smiling at my shock. She nodded. He is going to stay and work with me and Miss Cramcack. At the time, he never even knew what split was. He just knew he has not specialized, but that he had these weird abilities. He just kept them to himself, except for when he occasionally found another producers, but they don't know any more than he did. I should have figured it out sooner. Amused. There was something about being around him. I could always wanted to talk to him. He just has this charism like you do. I guess it is all tied into spirit and compulsion or whatever. It makes me like him even though I don't like him. Don't you? He teased. No, I replied adamantly. And I don't like the dream either. Her jarred eyes went wide with wonder. That is cool, she said. You have always been able to tell what is going on with me, but I have never been able to communicate with you the other way. I'm glad you guys got away when you did, but I wish I could have figured out the dream thing and helped find you. Not me. I said, I'm glad I didn't get you to go off your meds. I had not found that out until a few days after being in Spokane. Lisa had apparently rejected Adrian's initial suggestion that stopping the pills could let her learn more about the spirits. She had admitted to me later, however, that if Christian and had stayed missing much longer, she might have cracked. How are you feeling lately? I asked, recalling her concern about meditation. You still feel like the pills are not working? Well, it is hard to explain. I still feel closer to magic, like maybe they are not blocking me so much anymore. But I'm not feeling any of the other mental side effects. Not upset or anything. Wow, that's great. A beautiful smile lit her face. I know. It makes me think there might be hope for me to learn to work the magic after all someday. Seeing her so happy made me smile back. I had not liked seeing those dark feelings starting to return and was glad they could vanish. I don't understand the how or the why, but as long as she felt okay. Everyone has light around them except for me. You have shadows. You take them from Lisa. Adrian's word slammed into my mind uneasily. I thought about my behavior these last couple of weeks. Some of the angry outbursts, my rebellious, unusual even for me, my own back coil of emotion stirring in my chest. No, I decided there were no similarities. Lisa's dark feelings were magic based, mine were stress based. Besides, I felt fine right now. Seeing her watching me, I tried to remember where she got left off in the conversation. Maybe you will eventually find a way to make it work. I mean, if Adrian could find a way to use this bit and does not need meds. She suddenly laughed. You don't know, do you? What? The Adrian does meditate himself. He does? But he said. I groaned. Of course he does. The cigarettes, the drinking, God only know what else. She nodded. Yeah, he almost always got something in his system, but probably not at night, which is why he can poke his head into my dreams. Man, I wish. Do that. She said, maybe you will learn someday, but don't become an alcoholic in the process. I won't. She assured me, but I will learn. None of the other spirit users could do it, Rose. Well, aside from straying Valdemar, I will learn like he did. I'm going to learn to use it and I won't let it hurt me. I smiled and touched her hand. I had absolute faith in her. I know. We talked for most of the evening. When the time came for my usual practice with Drummond, I parted ways with her. As I walked away, I pondered something that had been bothering me, although the attacking group of Strigoi had many more members. The Guardians felt confident Ashok had been their leader. That don't mean there could not be other threats in the future, but they felt it could be while before the followers regrouped. But I could not help thinking about the list I could seen in the tunnel in Spokane, the one that had listed the royal families by size. And Aisha had mentioned the Dragmaroy by name. He knew they were almost gone, and he could sounded keen on being the one to finish them. Sure, he was dead now, but were there other triggers out there with the same idea? I shook my head. I could not worry about that, not today. I still needed to recover from everything else. Soon, though, soon I could have to deal with this. I don't even know if our practice was still on, but went to the locker room anyway. After changing into practice clothes, I headed down to the gym and found Rimet in a supply room, reading one of the Western novels he loved. He looked up at my entrance. I could see little of him in these last few days and had figured he was busy with Tasha. I thought you might come by, he said, putting a bookmark between the pages. It is time for practice. He shook his head. No, no practice today. You still need to recover. I have got a clean bill of health. I got to go. I pushed a much panted Rose Hathaway bravado into my words as I could. Drummond was not falling for any of it. He gestured the chair beside him. Sit down, Rose. I hesitated for only a moment before complying. He moved his own chair close to mine so that we sat directly across from each other. My heart fluttered as I looked into those gorgeous dark eyes. No one gets over the first kills easily. Even with Strigoi, well, it is still technically taking a life that is hard to come to terms with. And after everything else we were spent through, he sighed, then reached out and caught my hand in his. His fingers were exactly like I remember, long and powerful, collapsed with the years of training. When I saw your face, when we found you in that house, you cannot imagine how I felt. I swallowed. How? How did you feel? Devastated, grief stricken. You were alive. By the way you looked, I don't think you could even recover. And it tore me apart to think of that happening to you so young. He squeezed my hand. You'll recover. I know that now, and I'm glad. But you're not there. Not yet. Losing someone you care about is never easy. My eyes dropped from his and studied the floor. It's my fault. I said in a small voice. Huh? Manson getting killed. I don't have to see Drummond's face to know. Compassion was filling it. Oh, Rosa, no. You made some badass decisions. You should have told others when you knew he was gone. But you cannot blame yourself. You don't kill him. Tears brimmed in my eyes. Tears. Tears brimmed in my eyes as I looked back up. I might well have. The whole reason he went there, it was my fault. We had a fight, and I told him about Spokane thing, even though you asked me not to. One tear leaked out of the corner of my eyes. Really, I needed to learn to stop that, just as my mother had. Drummond delicately wiped the tear off my cheek. You cannot blame yourself for that, he told me. You can regret your decision and wish you could have done things differently. But in the end, Manson made his decision too. That was what he chosen to do. It was his decision in the end. No matter your original rule. When Manson had came back for me, I realized he could let his feelings for me get in the way. It was what Drummond had always feared. That if he and I had any sort of relationship, I could put us and any Morai were protected in danger. I just wish I could been able to, I don't know, do anything. Swallowing back few further tears, I pulled my hands from Remit and stood up before I could say something stupid. I should go, I said thickly. Let me know when you wanted to start practice again. And thanks for talking. I started to turn, then I heard him say abruptly, No. I glanced back. What? He held my gaze, and something warm and wonderful and powerful showed between us. No, he repeated. I told her, no, Tasha. I. I shut my mouth before my jaw hit the floor. But why? That was once in a lifetime thing. You could have had a baby, and she was, into you. The ghost of a smile flickered on his face. Yes, she was, is. And that's why I had to say no. I could not return that, could not give her what she wanted, not when he took a few steps towards me, not when my heart is somewhere else. I almost started to cry again. But you seemed into her, and you kept going on about how young I acted. You act young, he said, because you are young. But you know things, Rosa. Things people older than you don't even know that day. I know instantly which day he referred to, the one up against the wall. You are right about how I fight to stay in control. No one else has ever figured that out. And it scared me. You scare me. Why? Don't you want anyone to know? He shuddered. Whether they know that fact or not does not matter. What matters is that someone that you know me that well. When a person can see into your soul. It is hard. It forces you to open, vulnerable. It is much easier being with someone who was just more of a casual friend like Tasha. Tasha Ozari is an amazing woman. She is beautiful and she is brave, but she does not get you. I finished. He nodded. I know that, but I still wanted the relationship. I know it could be easy and that she could have taken me away from you. I thought she could make me forget you. I thought the same thing about Manson, but she could not. Yes, and so that's a problem because it is wrong for us to be together. Yes, because of the age difference. Yes, but more importantly, because we are going to lose our guardians and need to focus on it, not each other. Yes. I thought about this for a moment, then looked straight into her eyes. Well, I said at last, the way I see it, we were not Lisa's guardians yet. I steeled myself for the next response. I knew it was going to be one of the Zen's life lessons, something about inner strength and perseverance, about how the choices we made today were templates for the future or some other nonsense. Instead, he kissed me. Time stopped as he reached out and cupped my face between his hands. He brought his mouth down and brushed it against my lips. It was barely a kiss at first, but soon increased, becoming heady and deep. When he finally pulled away, it was to kiss my forehead. He left his lips there for several seconds on his arms, held me close. I wished the kiss could have gone forever. Breaking the embarrassment, he ran a few fingers through my hair and down my cheek. He stepped back towards the door. I will see you later, Rosa. At our next practice? I asked. We were starting those up again, right? I mean, you still have things to teach me. Standing in the doorway, he looked over at me and smiled. Yes, lots of things.